The DualShock 4 has buttons? What? I mean, obviously there's L4 and R4, then there's X, Y, Z, and D, of course. It's kind of weird that they changed the tried and true square, circle, X, and one other button that I just can't think of. Whatever. Kingdom Hearts uses these traditional buttons as well. Surprise, surprise, Kingdom Hearts actually has controls. Some pretty weird controls, actually. The attack button is usually X, with the guard and dodge roll button being square, and the jump button is circle. There's also one other button, too. Huh. You know, the name of it is on the tip of my triangle-shaped tongue, but I just can't think of it. Take God of War, for example. Oh no, he's doing another God of War comparison. God of War uses a pretty traditional and widely accepted control scheme. X is jump, square is attack, circle is used for quick time events, with this being the only kind of strange control used here, and the other button. Shit. What does the other button do? Either way, the control scheme for God of War is in the standard for most games in my opinion. But once you've played as much Kingdom Hearts as I have, you kinda get used to the different and assumedly less accepted way of controlling the character. Something pretty interesting about the control scheme is that on Nintendo Switch, which is like by far the worst way to play the game, you actually attack using A, or circle in PlayStation terms, and jump is B, or X in PlayStation terms, with the same button for dodge, guard, and something else. The standard control scheme for Kingdom Hearts has never really been changed or altered, however. Of course, that isn't mentioning the Xbox controls, because, yeah, that exists. You know, I actually grew up and first played these games on Xbox back in 2019. Luckily, I was able to escape from that Xbox phase of my life. But from a long time of experience, regrettably, the controls on Xbox are the same as PlayStation. Actually, going back a long time, there are a lot of jokes about Kingdom Hearts regarding the gameplay. They usually went like this. Kingdom Hearts, more like mash X to win hearts, except Kingdom Hearts doesn't have a heart mechanic, so these people must really be at the loop, am I right? What the hell is a play on words? Okay, it seemed like that was just supposed to be a clever play on words.
You're stupid!
I apologize to everybody who's passionate about this joke and everybody who I hurt with my prior statement. I've made a severe lapse in judgment. I don't even know how many times the script has gone off the rails at this point, but it's definitely a lot. Wait. Nah, that can't be it. But could it be? Wait, it is! Triangle! That's the button that I've been thinking of. No wonder I never passed elementary school. I couldn't think of the top button. The triangle button's been a widely known and frequently used button in gaming pretty much ever since the PlayStation 1. This button's always been sort of a wild card for me. It really could be used for anything. In God of War it's used for heavy attacks, in the Devil May Cry series it's used as the main attack button, in GTA it's used to get in and out of cars, and in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 it's used to swap weapons. Although these are all different genres of games, I could go on. But what does this have to do with Kingdom Hearts games? I don't know. You know, I've kind of been stalling to get my bean-sized brain to think of something, but I really have had no luck. Oh yeah, Reektion commands? Whew, good thing I passed pre-K or I would not have known how to say that. And just forget the part where I was talking about making this up as I went, because I have to make jokes to allow this video to be even passably entertaining. So, you know, that was just one of those. So, for the record, when I say reaction commands, I mean the triangle button. To be honest, I just couldn't really imagine telling my parents that I was making a video about how the triangle button is utilized in the Kingdom Hearts series, but that's pretty much what it is. I'm also going to be doing this in a similar style to my collectibles video, in which I talked about the mechanics game by game rather than a big picture synopsis. Unlike that video though, I'll be talking about the 4 games I went over there, which is KH1, 2, 3, and BBS, along with newcomers 0.2, Dream Drop Distance, and Rechain of Memories. Man, imagine reading that sentence to a person in 2002 who had literally just completed Kingdom Hearts and is eagerly waiting for the sequels. Do you think they'd stick with the series or just call it quits? I feel like I'm not really qualified to be going over the DS games in this scenario, mostly because I don't have a great way to revisit them, and I only got like halfway through Days on my DS. Oh yeah, I'm also allergic to data, so go figure. Lastly, I want to quickly shout out this video by Dunkadinka, I really hope I pronounced it right, as it was a really funny video that gave me a lot of info on the KH2 reaction commands. Link in description. With all that being said, it's time to break some triangle buttons. That was a cool segue, right? I've ruined it. Just go to KH1 already. I'm gonna go sulk in my corner.
This time it's sure to work.
Here's a fun little tidbit to start off the Kingdom Hearts segment with. Did you know that this game finally created a use for buttons? Before Kingdom Hearts, buttons were for people to click, sure, but they didn't do anything. It's like the buttons on those fidget cubes that were relevant for a very short time in 2017. And with buttons being used for a reason now, that means triangle had to be used as well, because I guess they just wanted to give me more to talk about, didn't they? Stupid Pythagoras and the idiot theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, more like stupid plus dumb equals a synonym for stupid and dumb added together. You can't have letters in math. Math has 1, 2, 3, the other one's 2. Either way, Kingdom Hearts 1's usage for triangle is pretty great. Why doesn't Donald heal me? He does heal you. You just have to press that one button on that one controller. I'm not telling you what that button is because I don't think your brain can handle it. Yeah, I'm gonna get beaten up. Starting off, triangle really does nothing. It activates save points and talks to people, and I'm pretty sure that's it. Alright guys, thanks for watching. I swear that apology video is coming soon. It's just a tough one to make, alright? Okay. Once you group up with Donald and Goofy after Traverse Town 1, you get another use for the triangle button. It kinda serves as a way to partially control Donald and Goofy, or I guess a better word would be to partially direct them. It's pretty easy to do actually. If you aren't locked onto anything and press triangle, they'll regroup and hang around you. If you are locked onto something, however, they become your guinea pigs and attack the enemy that you're locked onto. Now in most scenarios, this is usually instant death, so take that as you will. But if you just really hate Donald and Goofy, which I don't know why you would, you could do this for fun, I guess. Although, I'm pretty sure that's a strange sense of fun. I digress.
I mean, a casualty or two along the way. It's no big deal, right?
I don't know about anyone else when playing Kingdom Hearts, but for me personally, I don't really ever find use from this. Maybe try to get Donald to heal me, but that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I was pretty good.
It's actually sort of an Easter egg in some people's eyes, something that you would start off by saying, "Did you know?" before explaining it to people, because with the damage output and health of Donald and Goofy, they won't do much in terms of aiding you when fighting a boss or a mob fight. And I say Donald and Goofy, but for the record, you can do this with all party members, not just those main two. Yeah, Sir's Peter Pan, right? That arrogant asshole! You know, maybe this mechanic does add more than I originally let on. The next and far wider known utilization of triangles through the special moves, as I like to call it. You can get your first one of these after beating Cloud on the first Olympus visit and talking to him in the Olympus Gates. This is called Sonic Blade, and is probably the worst of these special attacks considering you get it so early in. But I'm in over my head. These attacks are moves that can be used in combat with triangle. Just to be fair, these are called limits, but I'm already in too deep to start calling them limits now. If people found out I was a fraud this whole time, I don't know what they would do to me. Either way, the other four special moves are Strike Raid, Ragnarok, Ars Arcanum, and Trinity Limit, the cost being some MP taken from Sora. For Sonic Blade and Strike Raid, the cost is 2 MP, with these being the cheapest. Ragnarok and Ars Arcanum both cost 3 MP to use, and Trinity Limit being an interesting scenario with its MP cost. See, the base cost for Trinity Limit is 3, same as Ars and Ragnarok, but if you have any more than 3, it'll take all your MP. So it could be used as a last resort as long as you have 3 MP, but you're going to need to be strategic with it. I'm going to quickly go over what these do real quick, but if you don't want to listen to that, skip to here. Hey, if you didn't skip, then congratulations. You're gonna hear me sound like more of a nerd than I've ever sounded like. This is obviously because these moves are awesome, but I apologize if I just sound like an 8-year-old telling a story of a Hot Wheels race. Okay, ready? So after you beat Cloud in the Olympus Cup, you get Sonic Blade.
Don't lose sight of it.
This is a series of dashes forward that end in a stronger dash forward. And I know it doesn't sound very interesting, but like, it's the thing that Cloud does in his fight against you! For Strike Raid, you get a series of Keyblade throws at an enemy that lead up to a final, stronger throw. I feel like Strike Raid is probably the most well-known limit or special move in the Kingdom Hearts community, if not Ars Arcanum. And speak of Ansem, next we have Ars Arcanum. For the record, I just want to make it clear that the guy I'm talking about is not Ansem, old man Ansem. It's Ansem SOD. Not because old guy Ansem is bad or anything, but Ansem SOG is just so much cooler. Ars Arcanum is down to brass tacks. Just a bunch of slashes. It doesn't lead up to anything, nor does it do anything substantial. But let's be honest, these slashes are so f***ing cool. If not for the Strike Raid, I think this would probably be the most well known. Ragnarok has you doing a combo upwards for a tiny bit, that's shooting out a bunch of spaghetti noodles out of the Keyblade. Obviously I'm joking here, but this one is definitely the most lackluster move out of all these. And that's not to say it isn't cool, but it's the shortest and most flat move in my opinion. Spaghetti noodles are pretty cool though. And finally, we have Trinity Limit. And can I just say this? This is so f***ing cool. I'm not even going to give any specific details towards this one, but just look at this animation and tell me it isn't cool. Now watch it at 0.5 times speed. Now at 2 times speed. It really is awe-inspiring. Okay, if you skipped to this part, then welcome back. I'm not angry at you, I'm just disappointed. Some part of me just thought that you'd be better than this. You know? Leave. Go. I'm not asking anymore. I'm telling you. Leave. Nah, you know I like to joke around here. Just don't pull a stunt like that ever again, or I'll have to force you to leave like I forced those other people to leave. Alright though, back on topic. The special moves in KH1 are pretty f***ing awesome, in both their animations and uses in gameplay. I mean, doesn't fighting Cloud, H Strafe, and obtaining an ability that he had just previously used to whoop your ass sound cool? And the Trinity Limit is probably one of the coolest moves used in the series up to this point. And that isn't even to mention the spaghetti noodles you shout out with Ragnarok. You know, those noodles changed my life. Actually, just to avoid myself going on another insane rant, let's just wrap up KH1. But seriously though, those noodles... And that's why you should vote for Kanye. Oh, hey. To wrap up Kingdom Hearts 1, I figure I might as well mention that Triangle is a shortcut for magic as well. I'm not really going to mention it with other games because I feel like that's probably a given. But overall, I give KH1 a 7 out of 10 in terms of its triangle usage. Yeah, I'm assigning useless numbers that don't really mean anything at the end of the day to these games. The Donald and Goofy thing is cool, but what really elevates this to a 7 out of 10 is of course the limit, or special moves, that you can activate using Triangle. Of course, I don't think you can really get to the ability menu using only Triangle, so good luck with that, but how about I tell you a story of exactly how this became a 7 out of 10, down to the last minute detail. Oh my... Okay, so starting off with Kingdom Hearts Rechain of Memories, I feel like I should quickly mention that there are some diehard fans of this game out there, and I'm definitely not one of them. I think the game does a great job with the card mechanic that it decided to go for, and I don't want to be that one person who constantly critiques the tiniest little detail about this game, but I want my games to be turn your brain off and spam X games. But I think that the card mechanic at the end of the day is fine. I take that back though, because it isn't the end of the day. I'm actually writing this midday, but that doesn't matter because it's a play on words, I realize now. You know, before I found that out, I used to think that there were a whole lot of people talking about things at night. You know what? Top 5 plays on words. Let's go. Number 5. At the end of the day. This one is honestly just really confusing, and my gripes with it are aforementioned, of course. Number 4. I saw an ad for a burial place. That's the last thing I need. What the hell is this list? Getting back on topic, you know how I was talking, or I guess complaining, about math earlier? Well, the card mechanic is just math again! I have to find out what number is bigger than 4? How am I supposed to know that? I'm not Einstein, okay? Now that I have a calculator to fend off the math, I can get back to Recom. To be honest, I think the card mechanic and maybe the game as a whole was more refined on the GBA. Obviously, I'm thankful that they brought this game to PS2, because I'm not sure how they would have gotten it onto the 1.5 collection otherwise, but the Game Boy Advance version of this game is just so goddamn charming. And to be completely honest, I'm much more familiar with Recon than I am with the GBA version, and you can make up some theories on why that is. Maybe the government's hiding it from me, but I just chalk it up to the fact that I've never owned a GBA copy, and emulation is scary. Fingers crossed for a Switch Online port, though. Going back a little bit, however, I'm definitely far from the most qualified person to be talking at length about Recom, but I'll try my best. Compared to Kingdom Hearts 1, Recom actually has Triangle being one of the most important buttons. I like to dub Recom as the dawn of the Triangle Golden Era, as this is one of its most utilized appearances. And not to jump forward too much, but going by the schedule, the Triangle button's gonna fall from grace soon. Gone are the days of Pythagoras, and now are the days of the Obama button. Alright, time to talk about Sleights.
Wait, hold on! I don't think I'm emotionally prepared!
Sleights are when you get 3 cards in one attack by pressing triangle on those said cards. Starting off, your Keyblade Sleights are usually just a combo, maybe with a Blizzard or Cure thrown in, and once you level up and decide to unlock a different Sleight, your Sleights will turn into different and mostly stronger moves. Of course, this depends on how much the 3 cards add up to. The first card you use in the Sleight will also disappear, however, so there is an element of strategy to it. But there is a very wide variety of Sleights that you can make, so I'll go over some of them, and maybe I'll go over Sleights if I feel like it. Oh? You thought I was going to talk about Sleights? No, you're just remembering it wrong. I was actually talking about stacking draw 4s in Uno. Actually, this whole video has been about Uno. Alright, the first and probably most important sleight in Recom is the levels of magic in the game. If you stack 3 of the same types of magic, you'll get a magic spell ending in Aga, and if you stack 2 of the same magic spells, you'll get a spell ending in Ra. For example, 2 Blizzards and a Keyblade card would be Blizzara and a Slash, and if you put 3 Cures together, it'll be a Cure Aga. The system is pretty self-explanatory. I'm not really sure what I think about this being the way to cast high-tier magic spells. If I had the opportunity to change it, I wouldn't be too sure how I would do that, so I guess it's done good enough this time around. And it might just be because of the cards that I don't feel right about this, but for the card mechanic, I definitely favor this way of casting magic than another, and most likely more confusing way of casting magic. The next one I'll talk about is the attack sleights. You get these through leveling up and unlocking them in the level up menu. These require you to use Keyblade attacks that add up to a certain number and depend on what type of Keyblade card you're using. The first one you get is Sliding Dash at level 2, and requires you to use a Sleight of the same type of Keyblade card and adding it up to 10 to 15. They also found a way to bunch in all the limits from KH1 as attack sleights too. I'd overall say that these sleights are probably the highlight of this mechanic, as these will always be the most used sleights. Partially because you will always have attack cards in your deck, but also because of the notion of higher the number, the better the card. And you'd have to get a pretty low number not to use an attack sleight. But then again, I might be spewing nonsense. I wouldn't really be surprised if I went back to this video after getting far more familiar with COM as a whole and wondering what I was going on about. Next up is Specialized Sleights. I'm not really sure if I should have roped this in with magic or attack sleights, but I'll figure I just do mention them now. Specialized sleights are sleights made up of different categories of cards, whether it's different types of magic or putting together magic, attack, and summon cards, and oh boy, do I have a lot to say about these. Wait, I have a train to catch. Too bad you didn't have to listen to me talk at length about these, as I'm sure that would have been really fun to listen to. The final 2 types of sleights I'm going to talk your ears off about are the summon and front sleights. The reason I'm grouping these 2 together is because I see them as very similar categories. There could be an argument to be made about them being in separate sections, but as I mentioned earlier, I'm nowhere near as fond or familiar with COM as the people who would be arguing about summon and front sleights are. And with that being said, now I'm going to act like I am. Summon sleights are essentially summons in KH1, but as cards. I know, I was surprised too. They're assigned levels based on how many of the summon card you used. There's Showtime level 2 if you use 2 Genie cards, and Showtime level 3 if you use 3 cards. And that's the system for all the summons. There are only 2 exceptions to that rule, and those come in when you include an attack or magic in those summons. These come in the form of Ideal Romp and Cross/Plus. Speaking of that last one, Cloud is kinda just an exception as a whole to those level rules. Using 2 Cloud cards brings you Cross Slash, and using 3 turns it into Omni Slash. And I know what you're thinking, this ruins the game! We're running a very organized system here, and Cloud had to go and mess it all up, but I try not to think about that too much. Front sleights sort of have that level mechanic too, but these, especially with Donald and Goofy, are much more nuanced than summon sleights. And by that I mean that there are still the traditional level 1, 2, and 3 attacks, but there are also a lot more attacks in the same vein as Cloud's sleights. These are activated with the cards of KH1 party members, and excluding Donald and Goofy, these follow the level system of the summon sleights. Donald and Goofy have level sleights too, with Donald's magic and Goofy's tornado, but are also able to be used with magic and attack cards. Take Blazing Donald for example. You need to make a slate with fire, Donald, and another magic spell, and this one does exactly what the name says it does, creates a Blazing Donald. And this actually does a great job in leading me to the next thing I want to talk about with sleights. Blazing Donald is just so goddamn silly, maybe even a bit goofy.
Hey, fellas!
No, not you, Goofy.
You know, that really hurt.
Goofy.
It just has so much personality and character to it, and that's exactly what I want to talk about here. The oozing personality and charm that some of these sleights exude. I want to keep this part relatively short because it's pretty much the same thing that I did with limits in the KH1 section, so instead I'll list some personal favorites. Obviously you have Blazing Donald, in which Donald quite literally lights himself on fire. This one was actually only in the GBA version of the game. And you know, I'm kinda surprised Axel didn't hop out of the screen and say, "Donald's on fire!" or something like that. I guess that would be in more line with KH3 Axel though. Next one I want to mention would be Goofy Crush.
Hey, fellas!
Yeah, now I'm talking about you. This is where Sora and Donald use Goofy as a battering ram. And just tell me that for as fucking depressing as this game is, this isn't nice to see. Not the part where he has to go to the hospital for severe brain trauma though. Yeah, that part happens after Reverse Rebirth, and unlocks after you beat the game on critical mode, which you need to find Mew under the truck to get. Make sure you catch Missing No first though. I always end up forgetting that part. Once you do these 2 things, you have to find Bigfoot in San Andreas and go to the 100th floor of the castle, and that's where you'll find the ambulance. with Goofy laying inside of it. The whole Kingdom Hearts series has actually been thought up by Sora in a coma after he fell off the raft and floated to the shore of Atlantica. And when Sora wakes up in Kingdom Hearts 4, he'll become King Triton. Why do you think King Triton knows what a Keyblade Bearer is? And why do you think he resents him so much?
The key bearer shatters peace and brings ruin.
It's because that's actually Sora and his post-traumatic stress disorder that he had developed after reading Kingdom Hearts 3 reviews. God, that went on for a while. The last one I want to quickly mention is Terror. And that probably surprised you hearing that Terror is one of the most charming Sleights in my eyes. And that isn't because my eyes are yellow, it's because Sora, a 14-year-old kid who needs to use goddamn cards to attack, is able to make Heartless go into a panic and frantically run from him. Look at the little ghost faces above their heads. They're just so scared of Haley Joel Osment. I mean, I probably would be too. He's a scary guy. You know, I'm gonna go to the recom conclusion now in order to not have nightmares tonight. So, I don't have too much to say when wrapping up recom. Obviously, I tried to really just stick to Sleights, but I might have delved deeper into just the game as a whole, though. I overall think that Sleights are arguably one of the best things about the card mechanic, with them requiring a lot of strategy to pull off, along with them just being really cool. And next I'm going to dive right into the Triangle Golden Era with Kingdom Hearts 2.
No fair!
Do you know who Isaac Newton is? No, seriously, I've heard he's not a very well-known scientist. Lived in the 17th century, a little bit into the 18th century. He had this theory that you couldn't fly or something like that. Sadly, though, he died before being able to prove it. And that's why Sora can do this, and this, and this? Although, I still can't fly, so maybe Newton just wasn't in Kingdom Hearts. But he has to be. There wouldn't be apples without him. Oh yeah, I forgot. Rule 12,376. Triangle beats all, unless you're not in a game where you have a sentient car and a sentient hammer trying to kill you. You know, I'm starting to think that you haven't studied the rules of Tetsuya Nomura. I'll give you a chance to brush through it right now. Alright, I'm bored. After Chain of Memories did whatever that game did, Square Enix decided to go back to the traditional combat of the first Kingdom Hearts game, but made every single aspect better. Hey, take some notes down, IGN. Now, I don't think it's a very controversial take to say that Kingdom Hearts 2 went for a much more cinematic combat system this time around. They added drive forms, gave Sora some flashier finishers, and revamped the limit commands. Also, remember way back in the beginning of the video when I mentioned that Kingdom Hearts is just mashing X? Well, now that sentiment has evolved to mention square and triangle as well. Yep, next thing they're gonna do is make circle an attack and people will go fucking wild. And I just want to make it clear that I in no way really agree with this sentiment. The people complaining about mashing X in Kingdom Hearts are probably the same people who play nothing but COD and Fortnite and end up complaining about how games aren't fun anymore. But seriously, I know this doesn't have anything to do with the video, but can I go on a rant really quickly about this take? I'm gonna take that silence as a no, but I'm still gonna do it.
Games aren't fun anymore.
Listen, I get it's your opinion that games aren't fun anymore, and that's fine. But on the internet, I have a different opinion than you. So yours is wrong. First off, you most likely are just playing two games that are probably in the same genre, and you're probably playing these two games pretty regularly. To try to remedy this, you could, I don't know, play different games? I think your preferred genre is kind of like your taste buds. They change over time. Listen, I used to love Kingdom Hearts something like 20 minutes ago, but now, I frankly hate the series. I'm just doing this all out of spite. You could also try to, like, I don't know, take a break from games as a whole. I mean, a game will probably be more fun if it's been a bit since you played it. You know, I'm not really, like, a video game therapist or anything like that. I've just been really annoyed by seeing this take that's completely separate from Kingdom Hearts as a whole. So, I'm sorry that this rant went on for so long. And now I feel like me talking about how I'm going to get back to the video is taking too long. You know, I might have an issue about going on tangents in videos. I shouldn't get that checked out. Either way, I'll go back to talking about Kingdom Hearts 2 now. Alright, so drive forms use square button to attack as well as X. So that makes sense why people are talking about mashing square. But why triangle? Well, with Kingdom Hearts 2 being in the dead center of the Triangle Golden Era, along with its combat being far more cinematic than KH1, they added reaction commands. Reaction commands are really interesting, and I don't mean it in the sense of them being confusing or anything. I just don't know where exactly to cut the line with them. With triangle being an action button in the Kingdom Hearts series, it's used for most thing an action button would be used for. And you're probably thinking, Ethan, Just separate the action button commands with the reaction commands, you stupid dumbass and other hurtful adjective person. Well, I'm sorry that the action button commands look just like the reaction button commands. And with KH1, it was easy to separate the limits from saving or talking to people, but I don't think I'm really able to comprehend all this. So I guess we'll just have to count everything as a reaction command, won't we? This wasn't in the godforsaken rulebook, Namura. You know, I think my favorite reaction commands are either apply for work or examine. Talk and save are fine, but they don't really add anything. And what the hell is a fill 1-2? But in all seriousness, there are like a lot of these. You know, for this segment, I was going to try to list off all of them and put it into 2 times speed or something like that, but I don't even think I'd be able to do that. There are just too many. And of course I knew that there would be a ton, but there are at least a good like 30 or 40 that I just didn't know existed. And this was probably just my memory being at fault, but I'm pretty sure that on a casual playthrough of KH2, you'll probably only encounter a good third of them. Of course, this depends on if you actively decide to grind or just run past most enemies that pop up, but still, there are some reaction commands that you have to spend a while to encounter. After like 5 minutes going through 2006 message boards, I think the consensus is that the rarest reaction commands are Recovery Run, in which Horus circles Leon after he dies and brings him back to life, and Wind Dance, used against Neo Shadows, in which Horus spins his Keyblade upwards. Riveting. Of course, this is all according to a bunch of people in 06, so I'm not sure if these are really the rarest reaction commands, but take this information as you will. Will? Lingering Will, who's like the one boss without a reaction command. I can't believe it. But maybe I'm jumping the shark a little bit by giving examples of reaction commands at this point in the video. So why don't we go over everything that makes a reaction command a reaction command? According to the KH Wiki, reaction commands are split up into 3 categories and a whole lot of subcategories. They're the non-battle reaction commands, which are essentially everything you would do with an action button, as aforementioned. There are the in-battle reaction commands, which are separated into nobodies, organization bosses, heartless and non-heartless, heartless and non-heartless sub-bosses, and heartless and non-heartless bosses. Finally, there are special reaction commands, which include drive forms, limits, summons, King Mickey, and miscellaneous. I don't know if I would really agree with how they're separated here, but I don't think I could do any better than this, so I'll go by these classifications. The next type of reaction command we have are non-battle reaction commands, and I'm not really sure what to say. Not because these don't have anything to talk about, no, but because these left me flabbergasted. Look at this. Apply for work is literally the reason I stick with the series, and I would assume that's the same with everybody else who plays these games. Just look at examine. I think... Sorry, can you just give me a minute? You can save in KH2? I can progress! So that means my PS4 blew up and burnt down my neighborhood for nothing then. Fuck. I guess talk is probably the weakest link here, to be honest. I mean, who wants to talk? Why does the game think I'm playing Kingdom Hearts 2? I'm definitely not playing the game to talk to people. Actually, that's probably the opposite reason I'm playing KH2. So I guess it adds a little bit of extra contextualization to some of the characters. Like this kid. I don't know who he is. I don't think he ever appears after this. Granted, he is technically just data. But you can talk to him. Snap a photo, Roxas. Oh wait, all of them were stolen. I forgot. This lock is pretty tubular, just like the skateboarding mechanic that utilizes reaction commands. And I'd even mentioned the open command. On a randomizer, this one is a laugh riot, a real knee slapper, and a gut buster. I actually don't know who's casting a riot, slapping my knee, or busting my gut, but I'll go with it. These are easily the best addition here, no discussion, just move on to the next one. Oh boy, here we are, Kingdom Hearts 2's Bread and Butter. Hey, remember that bit from my last video where I said the meat and potatoes and rice etc. of KH1? That was like painfully unfunny to both record and edit, so I'm sorry. We're talking about combat, baby! Punching and kicking and gunning. Fuck yeah. Obviously Kingdom Hearts 2 is known and loved for its combat system. That's one of the reasons people used to passionately hate the prologue of KH2. Because, look at this. This isn't much in the way of exhilarating attack mechanics. Another thing people hate is reaction commands in terms of combat. I guess hate's a strong word though. People don't hate it, but there was a big discussion about reaction commands making the combat too easy in Kingdom Hearts 2. Of course, I don't think reaction command should have to carry all of this on its back. Limits and drive forms were definitely in that conversation too, but especially before Final Mix, this was a pretty evident critique of the game. I'm not really sure where I stand on this though, considering I've only ever played Final Mix. See, I actually have the original US copy of the game on PS2, but you need an official Sony memory card to save the data. No big deal, so I bought one off of eBay, and lo and behold, it didn't work. At least it was blue though. It looked really cool in my PS2. I think my consensus on this topic really just lies with how much dopamine's released into my brain when I get to hit that top button, and all my brain is filled with is the word cool. And seriously, my brain is messed up because of this. You know what? That's it. The next video, ranking every way my brain has been fucked up from the Kingdom Hearts series. You know, I could try to go really deep into how much damage blank reaction command does, or exactly how much easier it makes the fight. But I kinda just want to talk about how cool some reaction commands are. Starting off, let's take a trip back to the good old days of when I was talking about Newton. You've done your research on him by now, right? Well, fuck that stupid Newton. You can do this in Cage 2. How many Newtons of force will Sora have running up this tower? 0. 0 is the answer because you don't need Newton to do this. You just need the power of Tetsuya Nomura and his gift to the world. Still couldn't port the games to Switch natively though. It's actually one of the main reasons for my messed up dopamine receptors. Maybe Newton was onto something. He was just looking out for our dopamine receptors, wasn't he? Meh, you can do this in Cage 2. Hey, remember that thing you could do in Cage 2? Yeah, I didn't think so. That was actually a boss command though, and as much as I love my boss, I'm gonna talk about my heartless and nobody coworkers now, because I don't need that $1 million raise that Clayton's been offering me. Isn't that right, Clayton? Whoa, I was just joking, man. Jesus. Alright, let's start off with Tina. You know me and Tina, always love to joke around. This reaction command is called Duel-Stance, in which me and Tina go into a stance as if one of us is going to strike the other with a sword. Except that would be a lawsuit, so this is all fake, okay? My command menu turns into question marks, and then one of them turns into a command called The End. If I hit it in time, Tina goes home. But if I don't hit it in time, I die. It's okay. I'm not angry about it. I'm just disappointed. Here we go again. I think this one adds a lot in the way of not just spamming triangle. It's also really fun to use. It's just so satisfying when I'm able to hit it and Tina has to go home, because then I have 2 jobs, and double the money. Next I want to talk about Snag, in which I snag Greg's head, as the name implies, and Sparkle Ray, in which, in order to not say something off-putting, Greg yells really, really loudly, scaring everyone in the office. This one will serve you like Clayton serves that poor gorilla in the Battle of 1,000 Coworkers.
Ah, a snake slithered by. You see, I saved that poor gorilla's life.
I also just really hate Greg. Look at him. Don't you just hate that face? And now I legitimately feel bad for this Heartless. I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. I'm not sorry to Greg though. I just flat out hate that guy. Finally, I want to talk about Bolt Reversal, in which Jenny tries to send a bolt at me and I do, as the name says, reverse it. I use this one a lot, because I guess Jenny feels the same way about me as I feel about Greg. Especially in that one room with a good 25 Jennies in it. Wait, what the hell? It's also a thing where it's like, yeah, if you're gonna keep sending these bolts at me, I'm gonna have to keep sending them back. You know what? Clayton really needs to do something about this. I'm calling the Better Business Bureau.
I'd wager they're with the gorillas.
What does that have to do with this, though?
A circus of clowns. Not much use for hunting gorillas.
When did I mention anything about gorillas?
Take us to the gorillas. Gorillas.
What the fuck are you talking about, Clayton? Are you gonna do something about Jenny or Greg?
Blasted gorillas. I'll hunt down every last one of them.
Since when did this company hunt gorillas, Clayton? We are a little fucking tax company. Okay, I won't mention it anymore.
What am I doing with these imbeciles?
Wait, I'm fired? So, now that I'm no longer employed, I'm on the hunt for jobs. And I guess that means I have to find one. I doubt there's much merit in killing jobs, unless you mean it in a good way. Oh, it's a play on words. Good to know. I'm gonna try to find a job based on boss's reaction commands, though, considering Clayton shooting a gun was pretty nerve-rattling. Alright, here's a guy. Sean Yu with press and takedown, in which me and Sean Yu push each other back and forth by locking blades, with the jump and hitting him back at the end of it. This one sounds really cool, especially with him being really threatening antagonist in the movie. Being able to kind of just body this guy sounds awesome. Next up we have Cerberus with evade, jump, and dog paddle respectively. Now hear me out, Cerberus is inarguably far less threatening in this game than he ever was in KH1, and that could be a big no-no in your eyes. I know it varies, but you do have to admit being a post-pubescent Sora being able to pretty handily fend off this massive and very intimidating dog, literally belonging to the god of death himself, with ease, is such a nice sense of completion, or I guess a better term would be just a nice sense of growth gotten after this reaction command. But back to the hunt. Oh Jesus, this one's just depressing. Roll up and spin burst are Jafar's reaction commands, in which you grab Jafar's tail, spin him maybe once or twice, and he gets dizzy and lets you beat him up for just too goddamn long. What the fuck happened to you, Jafar? You're better than this. You know, using this reaction command really feels like, and this may sound kinda weird, watching an autopsy on a very alive and very sad person genie creature. I take that back. That sounded very weird. He's just letting it happen to him. He knows he's past his golden days and is just letting Sora do this to him without a care in Agrabah. God, you're too old for this, Jafar. Go back to your lamp. You shouldn't have come out of retirement at such an old age. But back on topic. We finally have Xemnas with face down, clash, breakthrough, and finish. This one is the reaction command that was talked about earlier, in which Sora runs up a wall towards Xemnas. The interesting thing about this one is that Clash doesn't really do anything. Sora and Xemnas kind of just watch each other switch places. You have to use Breakthrough to get even a little bit of damage done, in which it shows Sora and Xemnas fighting each other on pretty equal terms. Finally, you get finished if you hit Triangle at the perfect time, in which Sora will pretty much just dominate Xemnas and deal pretty great damage. These different reaction commands were obviously done to remedy people mashing Triangle during the reaction commands, kinda like Duel-Stance. This also pretty much destroys the critique of KH2 being mashed Triangle to win, so there's that. And that would be a really great way to go to the conclusion, gives a great sense of closure to this whole word jumble. But now I have to talk about special commands, so good job reaction commands. I have to go and mess everything up. So first in this category we have limits, which although the name might make it sound like they're from KH1, they aren't, okay? These are fighting styles you go into with your party members, using reaction commands to activate them and for finishers. For example, Sora and Beast will go into a limit called Twin Howl, in which I guess they howl or something. I don't know, I haven't figured it out. I've actually never played this game before. It ends with a reaction command called Last Howl, in which Sora and Beast howl or something, but I guess this time it's final. These use all of Sora's MP, but I think it's worth it. These are great ways to show off the party members, for lack of a better term, skills, while also showing their relationship with the party members and Sora really well. Seriously, there is just too much personality in these. My brain actually can't handle it. This video's a cry for help, so do that, please. Next up is drive forms, which I'm not going to talk about here because they're just a topic for a whole nother can of worms. My worms, in fact. And I don't want to share. But these are able to be activated with Triangle if you have the auto blank ability turned on and you have the right party members equipped, with auto summon being bunched up here as well. Finally, the rat, the fact, and definitely the truth. Mickey Mouse also has reaction commands. Thanks, Mickey, you're really doing me a favor here. Alright, so here's our charge, in which he charges up a second and final command, Healing Light, in which he heals Sora because Mickey Mouse makes 15-year-old kids do all the fighting for him. And I like to make the video go to the conclusion of KH2 for me. So, just like Recom, I have nothing to say. This mechanic's cool. The consensus on it, at least from what I've seen, is far more split than any other triangle mechanic we've looked at so far. But at the end of the day, people like reaction commands, probably in part because they don't have any right to be this cool, but also because they're definitely add a lot to the more cinematic and impressive combat system of KH2. And it is actually the end of the day while writing this, so I finally get to use that phrase. Hooray! So, you would think this video would be a one-parter, right? Because God knows I stay on topic and, know how to have an upload schedule. But, nah. Yeah, so this video is already pretty long as is, it's looking like. And, yeah, it's been a while. I've been working on it for too long. And I feel like if I go over, sleeping and Nintendogs and, that abomination from 2019, then, it'd probably take a while, and I would like to get something out. Alright, so this is the end of my career, because I don't feel like doing anything else. Nah, but seriously, that was something to make. I don't know, it was a tough one. It took a lot of effort, and a lot of coffee, and I might have developed an addiction, but that's not on topic. It's worth it, considering I'm, frankly astounded and just so surprised about all of the feedback on that collectibles video. Literally, these people who I've been watching for years, who honestly have honestly made Kingdom Hearts my favorite game, in part with the game itself, but that's not as important. It's crazy. I'm so shocked. I'm really just in awe still, even after 2 weeks. But anyway, yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, then that's cool, and I'll see you in the next one, and bye.